Let's step way back in time today, to an era that honestly feels almost incomprehensible to the modern mind. Just picture the absolute dawn of humanity. The Earth is raw, it's untamed, and is actively echoing with the agonizing aftermath of a tragedy that literally changed the world forever. The very first murder has just stained the soil. Kibatil has taken the life of his own brother, Habil, and this deep, just unbearable grief has settled over our first parents, Adam and Hawa. But even in this immense, heavy darkness, we are going to trace the absolutely extraordinary survival of the divine light. So let's dive right into this. How exactly did Adam and Hawa navigate this profound, overwhelming sorrow? And how did Allah provide a totally new beacon of hope? Now, for years, the loss of Habil cast this long, devastating shadow over them. But even in their absolute deepest despair, divine wisdom was quietly at work, preparing a successor who would step up and lay the very foundations of human civilization and spiritual defense. Chapter 1: The First Prophet Born, a gift in the wake of tragedy. Now, you might already know that previous births had always brought twins, one boy and one girl. But this time was different. Adam and Hawa were gifted a single boy. And when Prophet Adam held him, this profound spiritual peace finally replaced his lingering pain. They named him Shish. In both Hebrew and Arabic, this carries such a beautiful meaning, the gift of Allah. And he was destined to be the very first prophet actually born on earth. But to truly grasp his story, we really have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the world he was born into. Ancient traditions describe this as a brutal, awe-inspiring age of giants. We are talking about human beings who stood toweringly tall, with some historical accounts suggesting they reached up to 230 feet. To put that into perspective, that is roughly the height of a 20-story building. The earth was rugged, the conditions were incredibly harsh, and surviving day to day required immense, almost unfathomable physical strength. So, as Shish grew up, the time finally came for the divine mantle to be passed on. Imagine the complete stillness of the ancient night sky, just stretching endlessly above them. Prophet Adam brought his son out under this incredible canopy of stars to impart a heavy, sacred responsibility. He told Shish that he had been chosen by Allah as a prophet. He was passing down a divine trust, a trust that Shish accepted with immense humility, knowing for sure that he could only ever bear it with his Lord's help. And he was deeply prepared for this. Shish received 50 divine scriptures. But listen, these weren't just books of spiritual rulings. They contained the profound secrets of the universe itself. He was taught immense practical knowledge. He learned astronomy so he could read the skies, medicine to heal the sick, mathematics, agriculture to actually tame this wild earth, and architecture to build. He was literally given the blueprints for human civilization. Chapter 2: Divide of Two Worlds, the Mountains versus the Valleys. While Prophet Shish was busy building this incredible foundation of purity, a deep fracture had completely split humanity. Habil, carrying the heavy guilt of his brother's blood, just couldn't bear to remain anywhere near his father. He fled far away, down into the deep valleys where the voice of Prophet Adam could no longer reach him. And this physical distance, it created a stark spiritual contrast. Up in the harsh, rugged mountains, Prophet Shish led a people who were robust, pure, and deeply devoted to Allah. Their lives were simple, but they were spiritually so rich. Meanwhile, down in the sprawling valleys, Kabil's descendants were rapidly multiplying. But Kabil hadn't taught them a single thing about Allah or the afterlife. He taught them only about materialism, worldly dominance, and this relentless pursuit of power. Guided directly by divine revelation, Prophet Shishak's knowledge really set the mountain people apart. In fact, he became the very first human to master the secrets of chemistry and metallurgy. He understood exactly how to extract gold and silver from copper and iron. He forged the first sophisticated tools, utilizing the Earth's hidden resources, not for vanity or hoarding wealth, but for actual survival and the genuine betterment of his people. Chapter 3: The Whispers of Temptation, Satan's Creeping Deception. For generations, the mountain people maintained their absolute purity. But as a subtle curiosity about the valleys slowly started to grow among the youth, Satan was just waiting patiently to water that seed of doubt. And this is crucial. He didn't attack with an army. He didn't force them. Instead, he took the form of a handsome, completely trustworthy-looking youth and quietly embedded himself in the valley as a blacksmith's apprentice. There, he took iron and shaped it to create a totally unique, resonant sound. He literally crafted the world's first flute, and he played a rhythm so captivating, so entirely alien and new, that its echo drifted all the way up the mountain slopes. Now, Prophet Shish had established very strict boundaries. He explicitly warned his people that the glitter of the valley down below was not the light of truth, but that haunting melody just floating on the wind, it was simply too much for some of them. A group of the mountain youth decided they would descend. They convinced themselves, hey, we'll just look, we'll keep it a secret, and we'll come right back. But as we all know, curiosity is always faster than downdrace. When they finally reached the edge of the valley, their senses were completely overwhelmed. They saw women down there who would adorn themselves specifically to draw attention, which was something entirely alien to their modest mountain culture. And then Satan introduced a drink made from fermented fruit juice, designed entirely to blur their minds and strip away their natural shame. So what started as just a look tragically spiraled into the very first instances of forbidden relations, marking the first major moral downfall of humanity. Eventually, the youth returned to the mountains, but they were permanently changed. The darkness of the valley actually began to infect the pure peaks as more and more people started sneaking down to indulge. Prophet Sheesh saw his people slipping away. In this deeply moving, heartbreaking moment, he fell to his knees on the mountaintop, weeping and begging Allah, "My Lord, my people have fallen into Satan's trap. Forgive them. Save us from this trial." Chapter 4. The First Armed Defense. Protecting the Divine Trust. Meanwhile, down below, the valley people had grown absolutely vast in number, and, bloated with arrogance, they decided to march up the mountain completely intent on destruction. The simple, pure existence of Sheesh's people felt like a literal insult to their corrupted lives. So, faced with total annihilation, Prophet Sheesh made a decisive choice. He did not run, and he definitely did not surrender the sacred trust. Utilizing those incredible metallurgy skills granted to him by divine knowledge, he forged weapons. He became the very first prophet in human history to take up the sword. Now, it is absolutely crucial that we understand the true nature of this conflict. This was not some territorial war fought over land or wealth or tribal pride. No. It was the ultimate clash between unjust aggression, driven by pure arrogance and corruption, and righteous defense. Prophet Sheesh's followers stood their ground to protect their faith, their purity, and that divine message entrusted to them. And by Allah's command, they successfully repelled the invaders and saved the mountain. Chapter 5. Legacy of Divine Knowledge. The Unbroken Chain. After living for over 900 years, which is just incredible to think about, Prophet Sheesh felt his immense journey finally nearing its end. He laid down his sword and returned to the quiet, peaceful devotion of his people. But he knew his final, most important duty was still ahead of him. Just like his father Adam had done for him, Sheesh called upon his own son, Yanush. In a profoundly spiritual handover, he gave Yanush the 50 divine scriptures. He whispered the secret names of Allah and those deep cosmic truths that are held only in the hearts of prophets. And he left him with one grave warning: protect these teachings and never ever allow their lineage to mix with the corruption of Kabil's descendants. This sacred handover established a magnificent, unbroken chain of prophetic lineage. After Prophet Sheesh passed away and was peacefully laid to rest at the foothills of Jebel Abu Qabais in Mecca, right near his parents, the trust officially moved to Yanush. From Yanush, it went to Kenan, then Mahalaleel, then Ureed. The core truth remained exactly the same throughout all of this. It was only the voices carrying it that changed through the generations. And you know, that golden thread of divine guidance was quite literally the only anchor humanity had. Whenever people started to stray from that unbroken chain, they inevitably found themselves stumbling in the dark, desperately chasing the illusions and fleeting glimmers of the material world. Very much like those mountain youth who blindly followed the haunting sound of the flute. Which really brings us to a question we all must ask ourselves today. In our modern world, which is just overflowing with endless distractions, temptations, and false lights, which chain are you holding on to? Thank you so much for exploring this profound expander of our history with me. To make sure you don't miss the next awe-inspiring link in this chain, the totally captivating story of Prophet Idris, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Keep seeking the light, and I'll see you next time.